Yeah, so I think the vlog topic I saw when I left the house, which I'm not going to be able to get very much out of, but my vlog notes for that vlog topic, which is kind of low resolution, I don't know why I shrunk the resolution on all those notes I made, is actually like a video in itself, so I might put some of that up. Here's another subject. Animal cruelty is happening all the time, everywhere, e.g. cats. I don't want to even dip into most of it. A bit like human death, but worse. We make bubbles of awareness in life. That's about how there's a lot of evil, there's a lot of like death happening and a lot of bad things happening in war, and we block it out with we block out what we don't want to see. It's like trigger warning. It probably feeds into the subject of trigger warnings, where you don't want to see something that is happening and is real life, but you try and block it from yourself. Like when you hide reality from children, or you hide reality from other adults by blocking it out of your mind or refusing to look at it. It's like when you refuse to look at a homeless person, like you'd rather believe they're not there, or there's like some drug taking going on in your town, or there's someone suffering on the street and you don't want to like give of yourself or help or take the patience to stop and help them. You'd rather just kind of go into apathy and walk on by without doing anything. So the vlog topic was apathy and how you see dead animals and you turn your gaze from it and stuff like that. And now my LCD is turned off, but the GoPro is still recording. I'm wondering actually what this GoPro will do when it runs out of battery, or when it's about to. Will it give me warning and turn off the recording? It fucking better, but I don't know. Right, so apathy in a very basic sense is like a lack of emotion or a lack of care. Ambivalence is when you don't know what emotion you're feeling. Apathy is just kind of emotionless, which doesn't make you any less of a person or a human. We feel apathy all the time. It's just like when something happens and you don't emotionally react to things, which is actually quite a good quality, I think, to have. Not emotionally reacting to things got me through a big hurdle in my life ever since I was told that might help by one of my friends back in the game development era. And there's a jogger. The times when apathy's a good thing is when you don't emotionally respond to things, like words that you're told by someone. Most humans, I think, don't know how to do this, and it makes them worse people. I like that I have managed to get myself into a position where I can do this. It makes me better, I feel. The times when apathy is bad is like when when you're walking in the street or you're driving through somewhere and you see something like a bunch of people attacking another person, or an old person who's tripped over is lying by the side of the road, or something like there's some litter that you could pick up, or there's something that you could do something about, or something that I suppose should affect you emotionally, but for whatever reason you can't get yourself involved. Usually that reason is like law enforcement and stuff, and conditioned social attitudes towards you trying to help or go out and involve yourself in a situation. You know, defending someone who's being attacked, or seeing someone lying in the middle of the road or the street, or seeing the one I want to use is like seeing a dead animal. That whole thing about when you see a dead animal, I mean, that's dead, so you can't help it. But I suppose you could go out and bury it. And if it's an injured animal, you could go out and maybe think about helping it, saving it, taking it somewhere. But sometimes apathy kicks in and you're just like, you just kind of turn your gaze from it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to know that it's happening. It happens. I mean, it happens for me in a legitimate way, I guess. A sort of legitimate way. It's sort of protecting myself from emotion, which is seeing a dead animal. I mean, you can't help a dead animal, can you? It's already dead. You could move it, you could bury it, something like that, but you can't save its life. I noticed that I'm very easily affected emotionally by seeing a dead animal, but I also don't want that emotion. and I don't want to be affected by it, so I have conditioned myself on purpose. It's a conscious choice to look away from dead animals, and I don't like it when I'm watching a YouTube video. Like Hayes Outdoors does this with his medic thing. Yeah, he's got a little joke where he goes medic whenever he sees a corpse, like an actual dead animal by the side of the road, and he points his camera at it. And then you get all these people on DeviantArt, like little teenage girls on DeviantArt, and some of their photos are just, here is a dead bird. Look at this dead bird I took a photo of. Here's another dead thing I took a photo of. Oh man, I keep taking photos of dead things and uploading them to the internet for some reason. I don't relate to that kind of morbid curiosity because I fear death. Like, I would never become a suicide bomber, like, because I fear death. I think actually death is painful and it's actually worse than life. I don't think that death personally is a release from pain or a release from suffering. I think it's continuation of suffering. So I have lots of bad thoughts about death. I try not to think about it too much. That's also a conscious choice to be apathetic and not get emotional towards death, because if I got emotional towards it, I would shut down, I think. So there's this apathy I have, which is like, I don't want to see certain things, like dead things. I tend to look away from them. And if I see like cruelty towards animals and stuff, like, then I'm suddenly in two minds. It's like, I don't want to see this, but I want to help it and I want to stop it, but I don't want to see it. And then I think about all the different cruelty to animals that is going on every day, all the time. And like, if I was Superman, you know, that feature, that superpower that Superman has, where he hears all the voices and thoughts of thousands of people in the world just by quieting his mind and listening, or it just comes in at him and he can't actually stop it, and he has to learn to concentrate on just individual voices of who he can save and take it in his stride. That kind of applies to what I'm saying also. Like, maybe if you localize and take it in your stride, like, you can't help every situation of cruelty to animals, but you can help the ones that you come across personally. So in that way you can save what things in suffering, you can save what beings are in suffering that you come across individually through your life, because you know you can't save them all, you don't have the resources, you're not everywhere at all times, you're not omnipotent. But there is still that kind of part of me that I just don't want to see it. Like, I'm against, for instance, trigger warnings. I'm against censorship because I'm pro free speech, which means that I believe that, you know, if a terrorist releases a video of them chopping off someone's head, and they put it online, that can circulate around the internet, and that shouldn't be banned. I know it's horrific, I know it's disgusting. It shouldn't be banned, it shouldn't be censored, it shouldn't be hidden from people. You know, videos or photos of people dying. I don't believe in trigger warnings. I don't believe in, like, history censoring the Holocaust, or, you know, hiding. Look, all the history channels on YouTube suffer because they have to censor real human history, which is 99% composed of like mass death and really evil things people do to each other. And their job is to tell that to people and explain that to people and show it. And YouTube, the far left psychopaths, censorious bastards on YouTube, they think their job is to censor that and not let it get out and not let people see it and hide it from people's eyes. So there is that duality there. Because you know, when ISIS videos started flooding the internet of all the horrific medieval brutalist things that ISIS were doing, like drowning people in cages, crucifixions, putting people's decapitated heads in dustbins, cutting people's heads off on videos, like, I saw some of that from time to time, and I hated that I saw it. And it desensitizes your mind to violence. You can't really stop that coming in. It's a horrible thing. I don't want to see it. I still, even though I'm desensitized to violence, I don't have that morbid curiosity thing that other people have, where I want to look at that stuff. I don't want to look at that stuff. And you could say this video might connect to another video I might do on veganism versus carnivores and omnivores, how you don't want to look at the killing of the animal you're going to eat, that sort of thing. I'll save that for another video. But yeah, I don't want trigger warnings, but at the same time there is that duality, that dichotomy, in which I also don't want to see what ISIS are doing to people. I don't want that popping up on my Twitter feed while I'm doing something. Like one of the guys I'm following on Twitter, I think he posted a video of someone in one of the Middle Eastern countries or African countries killing a giraffe or something, like slitting its throat and all the blood pouring out. And I was just like, oh god, I wish I hadn't just scrolled down and happened upon that video and played it a bit, because it just, the first few frames are just a picture of a giraffe moving around, and the caption he put over the video was like something where you didn't know what it was going to be before it started playing. Yeah, so like, I don't want to see that stuff. I know it happens, and I think it should be available for us to look at, just so that we know it happens, just like history, human history, telling what actually happened. It's bleak and it's horrible and it's disgusting and it makes you depressed as fuck, but that knowledge should be accessible to anyone who wants to find it. You should be able to see that stuff. And I don't know how much you want to bring kids into the equation. I think to a certain extent, parents will want to protect their kids from what they see, maybe just so they can manage it and introduce it to the kid gradually, so the kid doesn't become overwhelmed by all the violence in the world and all the horrors and massacres and death and what death is. Like, you don't want to traumatize your kid with that by teaching it too early in a horrific way to desensitize them instantly, but eventually they've got to learn that that exists and that will become of them. And even in my late years, age 39, I'm still trying to get my head around how any of that stuff happens. Yeah, I don't want to, but I do want to. There's two minds about it, like, because I'll have an emotional response to it which will shut down all my other processes and disturb me and shock me to the core, and, you know, make me sad. And, you know, we're all gonna die, and some of us are gonna die in really, I mean, most of us might die in really horrific ways. I was also scrolling around Triffids Twitter, X, the other day, and Vito posted something which connected to the Ukraine war thing, where it's this horrific scenario. He was actually talking about Superman as well in reference to this. Maybe that's why it's partly on my mind, where there was a Russian soldier in a trench, and this Russia-Ukraine war is all about drone bombing a lot of the time, which is really disturbing in itself. And you've got some degree of trench warfare going on, like World War I, in the places where this thing's happening. And I don't, as a rule, empathise for state officers on principle, but on a human level, there was this Russian soldier in a trench, and the Ukrainians were looking at him from a drone. And the video posted online that we're looking at is from the Ukrainian drone's position, basically the killer's position, as it drops a timed grenade down into the trench from its point of view, leaves it in the trench, and then the Ukrainians are like, see him getting out a cigarette, and they're like, oh, let him have his last cigarette, and then we'll just set this bomb off and kill this guy. And there's one version of the video which I saw first, which edits out whatever happens next. So I'm like, oh, maybe he didn't die, maybe this isn't a killing. And then you scroll down a bit and someone's posted another video where it's the same video, but the guy gets exploded in the trench. And right at the point where I sort of knew that that's what was going to happen, I went into two minds about it. And I thought, I'm not going to play this video, but I'm going to just click frame by frame 3 times and just see if there's a burst of smoke or something to indicate that this guy is being killed in the trench. And I ended up on a frame where there's like blood pouring out of his leg and he's lying limp, and it's just like, well, that didn't work, really. It didn't I couldn't protect myself from it, but You know, you can't really protect yourself from it. And yeah, I mean, that's what this video is about, that kind of apathy versus emotional reaction, covering trigger warnings and how trigger warnings shouldn't exist, but you can kind of understand why people don't want to see horrific things and they will shield their eyes from it. As I fully acknowledge, I try and shield my eyes from horrific things, and other times I watch horrific things, then that just becomes ingrained into me. It becomes a part of me, and I now know that out in the world shit like that is happening, and it's just this sick knowledge that's in my head, which just helps me know what the world is, I suppose. Which is that the world isn't this place I thought it was when I was a kid, when I was protected from all this stuff. It's actually this disturbing, horrific place. And you can see things around the world that are really beautiful, and you know, the light, the look of a sunset, the feel of, you know, some kind of fluffy thing as you stroke it under your skin, elation, happiness, like joy from humor. You've got all these good experiences you can focus on as well, but I think they are still outnumbered by the bad experiences. And as a kid, you just live in those good experiences, and as an adult, you just know more and see more about what this thing is you've been born into, and you get more negative. I think as time goes on, you get more depressed. Yeah, facts of life, I guess. So yeah, how do you deal with your apathy side versus your emotionally reactive side? Can you repress this? Can you control the emotional side and indulge it by choice when you want to? Do you find the apathy side useful to you? Or do you think it makes you dead cold and emotional and you should be being emotionally responsive all the time? If so, I don't really agree with you, but I'm interested to hear your reasons. Catch you later, folks.
Thank you for watching.